Okay, so I want to put the final dagger in this article of DDA and scripting. I think I've had enough of over years wasting my time, replying to messages endlessly. That doesn't give me any benefit. And even when I convince someone, what am I doing? And they're wasting my own time about this DDA and this scripting. First of all, scripting can fundamentally not exist. Okay, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Scripting means the game is predefined. Go put your controller down. Do you think you're gonna win a game? Okay, that in itself should destroy it. So the whole argument is coined around this term called DDA. Okay, dynamic difficulty adjustment. Now the truth is, people are just sheep. They don't know what they're talking about, and like 99% of the world, they're just clueless. Okay, and it's very important that I say this, and I'm not even going to respond to any of the comments. Like I've just come to the point now, I've realized there's no point even doing it. Okay, now I would never normally make this video. But you know me, I'm Mr. Controversial. Even though I'm an advisor, I also do content creation consulting on the side, and I tell all my clients, you never talk about anything controversial. In fact, you want the community to be on your side. But I don't care. I'm not here to win a popularity contest. Now, first of all, I've got some key points to note. People are going to talk about this DDA. They're going to talk about this document where we're going to go over everything in total. This might be a bit more in depth. And so some people, if you're a younger audience, maybe you're like 13, 14 or a kid, you might not understand a lot of what I'm talking about, but maybe eventually you will in the future. So anyone that's young, this might be beyond, me trying to make things a bit more easier to explain. I have to say things how it is, okay? Now, first of all, where this whole idea came from is people, they just like to follow everyone. If a content creator, even if they don't know what they're talking about, and I've proven this, my track record is there. Most things that I predict in a game, 99% of the time, I'm right. When have I ever been wrong in the community? Even if I say something that's not the meta yet, ends up becoming the meta, like FIFA 20, when the 4-back cinematic was the meta, everyone laughed at me. Pros were laughing at me. 21, everyone followed like sheep, when in 20 it was really the meta. It just continued to be the meta. So you can check my track record. I'm not here to lie. I'm not here. EA don't pay me. And obviously someone who's brain dead will think EA are going to be paying me. They'll pay the most famous guy out there to say there's not me, someone who's small. But anyway, let's get into this. So this document is what circulated. Now I have bet people £100, $100. And I said, let's get on a call. If you're right, I will give you $100. And they send me a script of when they miss an open goal. And I explain to them, that's the game being broken. You would miss that chance whether you are winning or whether you're losing. It's just that when you lose, you look at all the things that affect you. When you're winning, you don't. How many times have you won the game and you look back at a goal and you said, I shouldn't have scored that goal? Or maybe you might see in the replay and you got a bit lucky. Yes. But did you talk about the bounce backs happening in your favor? Did you talk about how your opponent got screwed? Did you know if your opponent got screwed? You don't know that. You just see the bias. Us as humans, we only see the bias when we lose. And with this whole mentality, it's a massive, for those who don't know, the bandwagon effect, the herd mentality, pro players who don't know what they're talking about, content creators don't know what they're talking about. And you know what? If I was their advisor, I would say, don't admit it. I would say to them, you know what? Say scripting exists. Because I'll be like, you want people to like you. In this FC market, this is not like Call of Duty where you get thousands of subs, you got loads of people supporting you, making loads of money. Half these guys not even making minimum wage in the FIFA Pro scene. People don't understand this. Only the top guys are making money. Even the content creators are struggling. So you have to understand this. I will tell them, keep your mouth shut. Is it advisable for someone who's a content creator to say scripting doesn't exist? Think about all the retribution you would get. Think about all the hate that I get. I don't care about hate, but if you're a guy that relies on people to respect you and to like you, people to sub to you, you can't take that risk. It's not worth taking that risk. It's not worth being controversial. In fact, it's worth lying and saying it does exist. People like you more. Let that herd mentality come about. So anyway, this is this pattern. Okay, now this has a double standing to this. Now, first of all, this is a patent. For those of you people that don't know, it's basically a document where they have basically said they got a technology, and a patent is based that when you make something, this isn't in general terms, anyone watching this who doesn't understand. Let's just keep this simple. You can basically hold the rights if you invent something. Let's just say that, keep it simple. Now, that doesn't mean it's implemented inside the game. It means they hold the rights. I could hold the rights to, I don't know, making a specific diamond that's worth £1 billion. It doesn't mean I'm worth £1 billion. Now it says in this patent, and this is EA patent in general, so this covers all of EA games, okay? If I'm not mistaken. Some other non-limiting examples of features of the video game that can be modified, which may or may not be testable by the user, can include providing extra speed and in-game character. Now, in a game like Squad Battles, where you're versing a computer, we're completely ignoring the argument because you're versing a computer anyway, and computers don't make mistakes. If you play chess, if you're the best chess player in the world and you play against a computer, you will never win. Unless the computer is programmed to make mistakes, you will never win. It's same in I'm a big aviation guy, right? I'm actually starting to become a pilot on the side, right? You know how most plane crashes happen? It's not machine errors. Machines can't make mistakes. They have backup, they have redundancies. Most of the time, the factors are human error. The human ended up putting the wrong coordinates in, or the human didn't listen to the TCAS system, or maybe, for example, the system may have a defect. But if the system is up and running and it's perfect, the system doesn't make mistakes. That's why planes, people don't know, planes can do everything. They can fly itself, they can land itself. You just enter some numbers in. As long as the right numbers are entered, the plane can land itself. It just can't take off. We're talking about commercial plane here. So improving throwing accuracy in the game, improving the distance, height, can jump, adjusting to responsiveness of controls. In some cases, the adjustment may additionally alternatively include reducing the ability of in-game character. Okay, so you can see that. Now, a lot of this, I would say, is because the game is broken. People don't understand, okay? I said to you, when you miss an open goal, it's because the game is coded badly. I've already explained this. Even I miss open goals. When I do a green time shot, I should be scoring 100% of the time, but I don't. But it doesn't mean it's DDA. I could be losing 4-0 against a professional player, and I've lost 4-0 against a professional player, and I've hit the post in 90 minutes. With a cheaper team, I used to use a cheap gold team, and I still hit the post. Now, people are going to say, if you have a cheaper team, no, because I can win with a cheap team because I'm a good player. But if I verse a pro player, when it's pro versus pro, team makes a big difference, okay? Now, I can tell you, I played with a weaker team, which people say I should have the DDA in my favor. I've lost 4-0 against pro player, and I've hit the post in a clear open chance. Should I have not scored that goal if DDA existed? Does DDA help me out when I've lost the game? No. Now, where this actually makes sense inside the games is there's a game in Battlefield. Now, I used to play Battlefield. Now, there's a game mode called Conquest, and basically what happened was back in the day, in Battlefield, Conquest is kind of like capture the flag. You capture different points of the map. It's like domination in Call of Duty, and basically the losing team, well, from where I remember it correctly, is you could basically towards the end of the game, let's say you're losing, let's say the points up to 1,000, and you're winning by 850. And let's say you're coming close to 950 and your opponent had 700. There was a catch-up mechanic in Battlefield where the team had momentum, okay, to go and then beat the other player, and it was actually inside the game. It was actually very controversial, and that is why it was a weird mechanic, and I can confirm they implemented this inside the game. That is what I can confirm. So that is why people, because it happened in Battlefield, they think it happened in FC. Now, I'm not an expert in Battlefield, but I used to be a really good player in Battlefield before back in the days. I love Battlefield. I played it before Call of Duty even. And I can tell you that I never liked it, but I understand why it was there. But yes, it should never have been there, but it gave momentum. But in FC, there's no momentum. The game is so broken. They can't even code momentum, even if they wanted to. The game is so broken as it is. But like, whether you're winning or whether you're losing, it's not to do with momentum. You know, if you're 1-0 down in the Champions League, do you think you're going to stay defensive in the last 5 minutes of the game? Of course not. You're going to throw everyone inside the box. The team that's naturally winning is going to be more defensive. But that is where I can understand why this argument of this document comes into play. Okay. Now, the thing is, what it is, okay? Now, this actually went to court, okay? Now, this actually went to court. There was the, I think it got thrown out of court. Now, listen, when something goes to the court, it's no joke, okay? But I'll show you here, okay? Now, they had a plaintiff class action where the company was accused of manipulating difficult FIFA Ultimate Team games to encourage spending, and the plaintiffs dropped it. I believe not only was dismissed, I think there was another case, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong here, and that was also thrown out of court. Now, when something is thrown out of court, and I think they had access to I believe they had access to the code, as well. Anyway, there was one other one where they had access to the code, and they explained to them Now, when this is going to court, this is no joke. Okay. Now, apparently, there was another court case that people actually donated money to, and that got thrown out apparently as well. Ridiculous. But, you know, there was no finding of DDA or scripting inside the code. When it was independently reviewed, it went to court. Okay. Now, this is not like in a school playground where you say something and you get detention. If they make a lie here, their company could be sued for millions, potentially even billions, for the amount of money they made over loot boxes over the years as well. Okay. Now, they hold the patent. I agree it was used in Battlefield, but I can tell you as a gameplay expert myself, he's very neutral. You don't pay me money to say this, but nor do people. I don't get paid by you guys to say this. I'm just saying this neutrally. There is no DDA or scripting. Okay. If anything, EA want you to spend money to get a better team, so you spend more money inside the game. So in fact, the more money you spend, you should be better inside the game. But we know that's not true. I know this because I coach thousands of students. They got people in Division 8 got like a 50 million coin team, but they can't win because they don't know the basics of the game. Doesn't matter. Even Division 4 or Division 3, you might have a 20 million coin team. I can use a 100k team and I'm still going to win. So the patent, as we know, was a general patent. I think a first year paralegal and a law firm can probably defend this in court. But look, it wasn't even used. It wasn't proved that it was used. We know it's not inside the game. Okay. Now, beyond that, EA officials have come out. Anyone, of course, that works in business, and I can tell you, sometimes the court systems are not in your favor. But in stuff like this, it's a bit of a different. This is not hearsay. This is not witnesses. This is completely different. This is analyzed data. Now, I can also tell you, they have come out. Multiple key figures, high figures in EA Sports have come out and denied scripting, denied DDA. Now, I know people don't think this is a big thing, but trust me, anyone that works in C-level, you work in business, you're a director, even if you're middle management, you cannot say something like this in public, especially if you know that it might not be true. You can't go out and confirm something like this. It's literally suicide for your company. No one is going to do that. So they admitted it doesn't exist. So at that point, it should be done. Okay. Then you have the final layer, which is someone like me that's independently gone through this. And I can tell you from someone that teaches game for a living. And I promise you, I've spent more time analyzing this game possibly than anyone else that you think. Anyone else that you know. Probably going to be some other nutter out there that's probably done the same thing that I've done, but maybe just hasn't made videos on it. Maybe just loved the game or whatever. But you'll be genuinely surprised how much knowledge I know. Even sometimes beyond some people that even know about the game, who are a pro player, even someone that made the game, you'll be genuinely surprised how much I know more than about the game that's been made. So that's the thing. The only thing I've said is I have not seen the code. Okay, I have not seen the code, and even if I have seen the code, I can't even talk about it. So that's the only thing I'm not gonna say. But the court has seen it. People that are experts, either computer science from a degree, it doesn't mean jack shit. Let's be realistic. It doesn't mean shit. Like in my opinion, degrees are useless. All it is to test determination anyway. It's like a passport. Do you have a 2-1? Yes. Anyone that owns a business will know degree means nothing anyway. But unless you're doing like a STEM degree. But anyway, the point I'm trying to say is I did computer science. It doesn't mean anything. Just because I can understand what the code says doesn't mean I know what I'm talking about with it. So even with some limited experience in the programming in the corporate world and also doing a degree in it, I'm not that kind of person that can go and analyze. I need a proper expert to do that. So I'm not even going to even talk about that. So that's why I'm going to avoid that. People like to be, Neal, why don't you talk about it? You understand computer science, but it's this is beyond. This is you need a gameplay expert, someone who made games for 20 years to go through that stuff. So I trust them. So that's the whole idea. Now, for example, if I go on YouTube and I type in, for example, I'm just gonna. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and I'm gonna type in proof scripting exists. Okay, I'm just gonna show you something. Right now, I'm just gonna do, for example, now a lot of this is just done for content's sake. To be honest, you gotta do what you gotta do. This video is just everyone keeps sending me this video. As for this, already got thrown out of court, wherever it was. Let's hopefully I don't get copyrighted. Lost 6 matches in a row. You lost 6 matches in a row because you're bad at the game, mate. Not because of now. For example, here, these situations here, this is an example. Like, let's say, for example, you missed a chance or you score a header. This is what's programmed inside the game. Now, maybe the game could be programmed badly. So I'm trying to see if I can find an example. Look, proof scripting exists in FIFA 23, yeah? You hit the crossbar, which can happen. He ends up getting the ball and ends up, I don't know, what's even this? So, yeah, goalkeeper saves it. Bad goalkeeper. Ed knows he tried to push the ball away, but the player was in the way. This can happen. It's BS, but it can happen. I mean, you're facing away from goal and you made a shot towards the goalkeeper and the goalkeeper saved it. That's not proof scripting exists. Okay? That is literally not proof. And if we go, for example, like here, like this one. Okay, these are the funniest videos, right? So he's gonna show a clip. I've never seen this, by the way. So he's taking a touch. Okay, beautiful. He's taking a shot. By the way, he's not even actually walked onto the shot. He's just taking a shot by standing still. Now, I guarantee you, if he was winning inside that game, he wouldn't even be talking about it. You see that? But anyway, look. You can see, look, I can go, and I honestly, I've made money doing this. I bet people hundreds of pounds. A lot, you know, people that I bet, I bet people apparently they're known developers, people that work for EA. Their best friend works in EA. I mean, there was one guy apparently he said, oh, he used to work, his best friend used to work in EA and all this nonsense, and like he was in the offices, made the code in Romania, and I even went in the call with him, and like for example, like this, right? So let's assume he didn't hold R1, I believe. R1 or R2 for the dummy. I can't remember. I think for me it's R2. Okay. Should be R1 for most people. Now, in this situation, this is an example of the game being coded badly. Now, these situations, it can happen. For example, like here, this can happen as well. This is an example of the way the game is coded, and there's bad mechanics here where the game is coded and goalkeepers that are broken. And this is why I say the argument, the game is broken, of course, is not scripted. And if you do believe the DDA argument, have a think. Common sense now. When you lost the game, has DDA been in your favor? I've used a gold team, a cheap gold team, and I've hit the post crossbar in a clear 1v1 when I'm losing 4-0. The game has done anything in my favor. Okay. And I can tell you from looking over thousands of gameplay. But you know why I don't bother anymore? Like before, I used to go out my way. I made some videos on scripting, and I remember I used to spend, and bearing in mind, I don't get paid for this. I'm spending hours, my own time, going out my own way, and I've made videos on this. Look, I made a 20-minute video from FIFA 20. If you want, you can type in that URL. We can go over it. And you know what? Like for example, like here, the truth. I made a video on this, okay, and I spent hours of my own time. Right? Going over this. And people are saying to me, but the truth is, if you think it exists, I'm not joking, you're either not intelligent enough to understand, or number two, you don't understand, or that kind of goes in, that being intelligent enough kind of goes in with lacking common sense and also not understanding the game, which is probably the most important thing people don't understand, or you're just emotionally attached to the game. You have to get yourself and separate the emotions from it and detach yourself emotionally and think about the game. And I understand why in other game modes, I agree. And the only thing that I would say is in DDA, in an offline game mode, of course it exists. You're playing against a computer. That, people say, oh, how can a bronze player score against me in squad battles? Well, it's a bit of common sense as well. Like, this is not rocket scientists to figure. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. And I understand it because people just they don't understand the game like me. But when no one else is making videos like this, the only option is me. Who else? Why would someone else make a video about this? Is this too much risk of your reputation? I said you're going to lose too much money. But when you verse a bronze player, let's say, for example, like here, a bronze team, the computer knows that, let's say, for example, his finishing is 56 and he's got a certain amount of shot power. The computer knows, and with precision shooting, you can shoot the exact angle. The computer knows, if I want to, so I'm just going to give you a bit of an example. Let's see if I can draw this out. Those that are interested, because this actually might help. This is offline anyway, so. But let's say this is the box, okay? That's the goal. The computer knows if I shoot aiming exactly the top right corner and I apply 69.45% power, I will score that goal. Now, if it's 69.46, that's a miss. But if it's 69.45, that exact number, the computer will never miss. We as humans, we can try to get between 60 and 70% maximum. We can't get this exact amount, but a machine can. Our human, it's almost virtually impossible. But a very low, you can probably try this a billion times. Maybe you might get it once, okay? But to press the shoot button and get exactly that amount of power, it's impossible. And that's just the power. You have to also aim the shot with precision shooting. And don't forget, manual shooting exists inside the game. So that's how these bronze players can score in these game modes. But look, that's the point I'm trying to say. And at the end of the day, look, the more I talk about this, people don't understand is the more I actually make these videos, the more money I lose. And maybe, you know what? I don't want to lose any money anymore, and I can't be bothered anymore, especially when at this point, like people are saying you have a relationship with EA. This guy, I'll be honest, I need a guy like this. This is the kind of person that if I was in politics, you'd want the guy. He's the kind of person that, you know, when those Messi versus Ronaldo debates and the guy starts defending Messi Ronaldo like he's their brother. You know, in those videos, you see all those kids. That is a perfect example of that kind of person. But people don't understand about the game. And even if it was about business, I'll tell you what I would do if I ran EHT, what I would do, I would make everyone that's got insane teams. Let's say, I'm not saying I would do this, but let's say if I wanted to make the most amount of money, I would make the game so pay to win. I would never have evolutions inside the game. I would make the game so pay to win that if you had R9, you would score every single goal 30% extra. And that's how I'd mint money. Okay? But anyway, look. The point, you know, play against low rate score, we've gone over this. You may not care. We're like, okay, I know. Thank you very much for that. With all due respect, it's no doubt. It feels so obvious. No, it doesn't feel obvious. You don't know what you're talking about. It clearly says online gameplay. We've already gone over this. It doesn't clearly state it. We've already gone over this. This guy's a clown as it is. Didn't even read the document. And then, so I'm just going to go over this, just a few last documents, a few last comments on this. And I made a video from FIFA 20. You know, we talked about this again. This is when EA official communications came out for this. Went over different mechanics. I explained this. I even went through every single comment, what people said. I just removed the comments in the end because at that point, people were just brainwashed. And then, to be honest, I think this guy is right. Why waste my time trying to convince people? So this game isn't scripted to favor the side. No. Most people, no matter how much... Oh, yeah. That's true. That's what he said. Even the beginners of FC, you can't be a beginner at the game. I understand. If you don't understand, most people don't understand the game, so you can't even be a beginner. But look, I wasted all my time, right? Going through this, replying to all these comments. That's why when you get you playing your team for the first 10 games, they are gods. Score everything, animations are really consistent. I just cannot believe the amount of denial, lack of common sense, I would say, from a lot of these people. And I don't blame them because it's bandwagon mentality. When you have all these pro players and content creators, and I said to them, I would say to them, anyone who says scripting or does this, FIFA is trying to protect the ego. Let me analyze based on my experience, based on his experience. Have you ever played against someone in Rivals Champs and you rematch friendly 5 games and you realize that they're trash? I've done this on several occasions. Got up to 11-1 in Championship, us friendly, and if he was sure he had nothing to do, he played the game and he won none. Okay, first of all, I'll tell you something. This is a phenomenon, right? You know who beats me the most out of everyone? People that beat me the most are my friends. Because they know how I play. They know I don't mechanic abuse. They know I'm trying to left the dribble around them, so they don't move the defenders. They know when I go to the byline, every single time I'm going to cut the ball back and rotate the ball, and then they man mark my strikers with their CDMs. My friends have beat me the most time than anyone else. When we do FC tournaments, okay, my friends that are decent, let's say like they're like rank 3 to rank 1 players. Of course, I'm just playing casual. I'm not trying. Like, you know, they made me use like a cheap team, whatever, and just mess like, you know, I have to use like a 4.5 star or 4-star team when we used to play, right? But some of them, they used to beat me, because they knew exactly what I was going to be playing me for years and years and years. Of course, I want to turn up a mechanic if you do what I needed to do. But I probably still, but like, if they wanted to beat me, they could. One time I played a rival match. But you see, look, if I had a choice, let's say I was a content creator, you need fans like this in your favor. And that is why I advise any content creators that are watching this, you don't even get into this argument. You don't say anything controversial. In fact, maybe even potentially lie. Because fans like this, these are the fans that you want. Because if someone insults you in the community, fans like this will fight for you. You know, if I get insulted in the community, there might be a few people that might say this and that. But I guarantee you, if someone big, like let's say a top tip, I'm not gonna name any names, but let's say someone big in the FC community comes out and say something, everyone bum licks them. Everyone's like, oh no, don't say this, don't say that. It's a bit of a different one. But you know, and this is the only argument that I think is justifiable. I think this one, he made a very intelligent response, if I remember this correctly. Of course, scripting doesn't exist, but he believes DDA does. You can have kickoff glitches, which I agree is actually a thing inside the game, but this is broken. It happens whether you're winning or whether you're losing. It happens on both sides. Whoever gets kickoff, that is an example of broken gameplay and bad servers. But what he's trying to say is all these things are combined into what a D-Day is. But I understand what he's trying to say is all these big issues inside the game, which I agree. I've talked about the game being broken for years. I've talked about many issues with animations, servers, delay. I've talked that exists, but it's not there to impact one person or impact another person or favor one person or favor another person. Okay. And to be honest, I agree. EA have top psychologists working with them inside the game. But if what EA would want you to do is to stay inside the game as long as possible. So if you are a losing person, they would want you to actually win more games. And that's where I understand the argument. Because as a business, it's your job to get people to play the game for as long as possible and to continue playing. And that's why skill-based matchmaking is actually a genius idea. Like I made an account one day on Call of Duty and I just got the worst KD and I went into some of these bot lobbies and it was unbelievable what I saw. Like people they couldn't even aim straight. You know, they kept looking around the sky. They really didn't have no idea. You know, I was so naive to think I thought the base beginner player was someone that was somewhat decent at the game. I was shocked. I was naive to think that. There was such beginners. People couldn't even hold the controller straight. They were moving around. And, you know, they couldn't even look in a one direction. And I understand the model for that. And that is maybe you could argue that the Foot Champs ELO system is there for a reason. And that's why people have a catch-up system. And I think, you know, it's different. And it explained to me why some people break their legs. You know, to do with bad gameplay and a few other things. And I said to you, send me a clip. And I still have this offer. Anyone want to come out there? In fact, you know, maybe I'll extend it to £300, $200, $300. Show me a clip because for me, and what we'll do, put the money in escrow. We'll have like a middleman. I don't know why I'm liking that, but anyway, the guy's EA game changer. Now, first of all, okay, I can tell you one thing. Okay, I've been to Vancouver. I tested the game out. Some of you guys know I have early access to the game. Sometimes when EA decide they want to give it to me, they've seen me. Some people have seen pictures of me in Vancouver. They see me playing the game, and I can confirm that EA and the hospitality's been amazing. But I go there on my own device. You know, I make that choice, and anyone who has half a brain knows that if I change to the other side, I could make honestly 10x 10x I can make by going down a different route. Okay. And which is where most people would go down. Pros don't lose, and that's true. You know, that just proves the whole argument, you know. 21, I agree. I agree with FC College here. 21 was the best in my opinion as well. I agree with him. Check out him. He's got some YouTube tutorials as well. Good guy. Look, It's true. A pro, if scripting really did exist, how can someone like Anders go 500-0? And then people are going to be like to me, oh, he's beat the script. What am I hearing? He's good enough to beat the script. It's just I can't fathom how people even come up with this kind of stuff. Your game will be just whether you win or lose. That's not true, because I played with pay to win games. I played with cheap teams. You gotta name me someone else who's been playing so consistently with a gold team, cheap, and it's recorded at your skill level. How long have you used the same team? I'm sure more. You want all that? You anyone? It's okay. I agree that. Okay, what's he trying to say? Today I won 2 foot champs again in a row. They're probably coming up to me lose. Last kick of the game, he scored me. Now, first of all, what this person could have done is they could have not lost the ball. It's like, I'll tell you something. You know, 45 9-minute goals. Since we're on this, I've already explained this. Type in 45-minute and 90-minute goals. I explained to you how it doesn't exist, okay? This whole video. Now, in this whole video, I explained to you how 45 and 90-minute goals don't exist. And I even explained to people, you know what the solution is? I even explained to people, when it comes towards, if you're worried about the 45 and 90-minute goals, just don't give the ball away at 40 minutes and you will never concede a 45 or 90-minute goal. Okay? It doesn't exist. It's psychological. And I explain multiple reasons inside the game, because it's the longest minute inside the game. And I go over a few things here. It's like a question and answer thing. But I explain, because the 45, 90-minute goals, the longest minute inside the game, statistically speaking, are the most goals scored in those minutes. Also, people, they believe in it, so it makes them play even worse. And every gameplay that I've looked at, I've seen thousands of gameplays of 45, 90-minute goals, which I guarantee you have not done that. Not my gameplay, independent gameplays. And all the time, it's human error, or sometimes it can be a bit unlucky. But you notice it more during those times, longest minute inside the game. But if you really did believe in it, just hold the ball at 40 minutes and don't lose the ball, and you'll never... But you know what? People, they still don't do it, and then they start crying. They said, oh, the game shift, just hold the bloody ball then. Look, I think just ultimately, I think the point I'm just trying to say is, that's my opinion on it. I'm done now trying to convince people it doesn't exist. I don't even care what they believe anymore. Like, I've spent hours on my own time. I'm coming to the age now, I'm older in life. I don't care. This one person, they're not making any benefit to me. Okay, fine, I convinced them. What difference does it make? They're not going to convince anyone else. Probably not even going to listen to me anyway in the first place. So why waste my own time? So that is why I'm not going to mention this. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I'm just going to say, if you want to believe in fairy tales of fantasy and fantasy land, then so be it.